Hey, welcome back to the Relentless Positivity Podcast. Got an awesome guest as usual here, my friend Heidi over there. So she is now an author, amongst many other things, a hula dancer, a podcaster, a powerlifter, a mom, a wife, and so many other things. Thank you so much for coming on, Heidi.
Oh, Joe, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. You know what I'm excited about?
What?
I got some sponsors, and you get to
Yes.
hear about them. So
Yes.
the first one, hey, do you guys like our shirts? You like these shirts we got on? Made by The Apparel Lab. I don't know if you're familiar with them. Apparel means clothing or something like that, I'm pretty sure. So they make clothes. So if you want to wear something and you want your logo, hey, look, there's a logo behind me. It's on my shirt too. That's called branding, Heidi. Are you familiar with branding? So friend Matt and Jamie over at Apparel Lab, they do a great job. If you want quality shirts, they don't do these junk shirts. If you want crappy shirts that don't feel good, don't go to them. Okay. If you want a comfortable, smooth looking shirt, pec enhancing shirts, you get you an Apparel Lab shirt. So give them, because you know what
How
their
about
tagline
bicep
is? Look at
enhancing?
that.
Look at
Boom.
that.
I
The
need to see
shirt
your
really did that.
look at that. It's all in the shirt, right? So that's The Apparel Lab. I'm gonna spell it out because I have trouble spelling. TheApparellab@gmail.com. Reach out to Matt, Jamie, all that, because life's too short to wear boring t-shirts, right?
That's right.
You got to get the cool shirts. So another one I'm very excited about. This is a collaboration between Rocket City Mom and the Huntsville Madison County Visitors Bureau. So that's like a collaboration, like if you had Puff Daddy and Mace, remember them back in the day? If you brought them two together, that is what this is about. They've come out with a new app, Explore Huntsville is what it is. So I've got it on my little phone right here. So
I
I
have it
pull
on
it up
mine too.
and it's got a little rocket on there. So I pull it up and I can go through, it's got winter fun, things to do, all this stuff. So I hit things to do. Oh, I want to go do something. So I hit things to do. Let's do some outdoor recreation. Let me take the kids to a park. So I hit the park on there and it not only tells me what it is, it finds out where I am, the closest stuff. And then I hit that and it's got turn by turn direction. What they call it, geolocation is what they got on there. Geolocate you. And hey, there's a park
Geolocation.
a half mile away. I can take the kids over there if I want to go hiking, if I want to go to a brewery, wherever it is. I just hit the button, it takes me there. And not only that, if I want Google Maps, I use that. If not, use the other one. You got an option even on that. Isn't that
That is
cool?
amazing. I didn't know they had that. I have the app.
There you go. Do you know how
I
much it
have that.
costs for the app, by the way?
How much?
Oh, it's free.
Oh,
It's free. If
Joe,
you would
Joe,
pay $400 for that app, wouldn't you?
400, maybe five.
Easily, right? So there's a special way you get it though. Go to explorehuntsville.com/Joe, Joe. Get
Oh,
your
I love it.
that's where you get it free. Otherwise, you got to pay hundreds of dollars for that thing.
Hundreds.
So explorehuntsville.com/Joe, get your app, and you're ready to go. So Heidi, thanks for you're the first one to go with the sponsors, man. That's an honor
Oh, I
right
like
there.
it. I like that. Well, it's kind of ironic because I am wearing an Apparel Lab shirt,
That's
and
right.
then I also have the app for Explore Huntsville. I love that because I have kids, and it's so much easier than going to Facebook and looking on events or pulling something up. I mean, that app makes it very easy. You just click it, and I can
One-stop
find
shopping
things like
right
I
there.
can find things that I need to do maybe last minute with the kids. So it was meant to be, Joe.
Meant to be. Yeah. See,
Meant to be.
you're a sponsor too. Look at you go. So
Yeah.
let's talk about you a little bit rather than these. So, where'd you grow up? Where are you from?
Well, so I've been all over. I'm originally from Hawaii, and I lived there till I was about 5, and we moved to California. My mom was trying to be a lawyer. Good thing she didn't end up being a lawyer, but she was going to law school in San Jose, and we ended up moving to California. So I lived most of my younger years in California, and then I moved back to Hawaii when I was going to college. So 99. Oh my gosh, so long ago. 99. Yeah, so I call, even though I'm from Oahu, the island of Oahu, I call the big island my home, which is the actual island is called Hawaii. And so we usually refer to it as the big island because it gets very confusing. People are like, where are you from? I'm from Hawaii. Okay, which island? I'm like, I'm from the island of Hawaii. But that can get very confusing. So anyways, I call Hilo my home and on the big island, but I've been living here for almost 4 years now. Going to be
Oh,
4 years in Huntsville, and I love it. We've been
yeah.
all over, and I just love Huntsville. Like
It's
I
not bad,
love
right?
Alabama.
Yeah.
No, and
I call Alabama Big Alabama. In case people get confused, I just tell them I'm from Big Alabama. So just cuts down any confusion. So what kind of kid were you? What were you into growing up as a kid? What did you like to do?
well, like you said, I used to be a hula dancer. And even in Hawaii, my dad's a Hawaiian musician.
He's
So
awesome too. I've seen him on
yeah,
Facebook. He's awesome.
you know what? He is so awesome. He is so humble. My father is like, not the guy who will say anything about like, he never talks about himself like, like that. So I'm always like, my father is amazing and he plays steel guitar and he was nominated for a Grammy and all this kind of stuff. But he was like, no, no, I used to dance hula growing up. I was very athletic, so I loved playing sports. I was a little bit of a tomboy, I guess you could say, but I also danced, hula and Tahitian dancing, which is very similar but a different style of dancing. I played basketball. Would you believe all 5'1" of me played
Oh yeah.
basketball in high school and middle school, and I played in. I didn't play for a college, but I did play in college, just to mess around. And that's when I tore my ACL then.
Oh,
And I haven't really played as much since. I'll shoot around with the kids and stuff, but I don't I don't know if I could take it anymore up and down the courts as much as I used to.
oh no.
No, I try, but not as much. But yeah, I would say that I was a lot of more of an active kid growing up, which led me to want to pursue a career in kinesiology, and I actually wanted to do physical therapy before I did any of the stuff I'm doing now. Um, but yeah, I would say that's kind of like how I grew up.
Yeah. So
Very different.
I was pre physical therapy when I got to college, and then
Ah,
they brought out something called chemistry. I'm not sure if you're familiar with chemistry,
tell
and
me you didn't do good because
oh,
I didn't either.
I failed it so bad I
Oh
changed
my
my whole
gosh.
major.
Oh,
Changed my
I
whole
couldn't
major.
believe how bad I was at it.
Mm-mm. And I was in there with like 500 people, and I was like, "All right, is
500?
everyone failing this? Like, am I the only one? Like, there's 500 of it. It was in. I went to Auburn. It was a big old class. It was like stadium seating, and like
Are you serious? Is that how it is?
that class it was. And I was like, man,
Wow.
there's 4 more chemistries after this. I better look through that book, find
Oh
out.
my.
And kids, it was an actual book, by the way. This wasn't the internet. I couldn't go on there. It was a book
No.
that I
Yeah.
looked through. Like, what doesn't have chemistry in it? That's why
With
I'm a short.
paper.
Yeah, you had to read it. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to take physics in order to get to grad school, and physics to me was easier
Yeah, I
than
understood
chemistry.
physics. I
Yeah,
got
I don't
physics.
I was like, I don't understand how chemistry can be so bad for me. Yeah, I did. It definitely made me think twice about. I had to take it again. I'm pretty sure I failed it the first
I
time. I
just
had
got
to
out
take
of there. I just left.
smart man.
And my dad was a chemistry major, make it even worse. So
Oh my gosh, no way.
yeah, I like tell him like, man, there was only like 4 elements when you were in college. It's different now. So so yeah. So you
Mm.
go through that. So what did you graduate? You got a kinesiology degree.
Yeah, so back then, I went to University of Hawaii, but the University of Hawaii on the Big Island is like a separate school,
Hmm.
and they still very country in a sense. Like it's not as major as the main location is. So when I had the degree, it was health and physical education because they hadn't actually changed to kinesiology. But pretty much it was a kinesiology degree, which the courses I took were a lot more into studying the body, the way the body works, the way the body moves. And I did have some just some education of physical education in there, which was fun, but I didn't want that as my career. And, at the time I really wanted to do physical therapy. It just felt right for me. I was working at a physical therapy clinic and, but towards the end of working at the clinic, I realized I was like, I do not want to do this. Like, I'm really fortunate to have that experience of working there because that made me think like, wow, I wanted to work with sports and I wanted to do, sports rehab and things like that. But it was a limited field in Hawaii. And if I wanted to do sports rehab, I had to go to school somewhere else. Hawaii didn't have a physical therapy program. And then I would have to come back. So it was just like, I don't think I'm going to do this. And I was making good. I used to work for MAC Cosmetics and which is so unexpected, but I have like a creative side,
Yeah.
and that sort of translated and was just supposed to be like a side job. And then I ended up loving what I did and I made good money. So I was like, well, maybe I'll just graduate and continue on with MAC Cosmetics. And I did. And I could really move up through the company and become a trainer and all this stuff. So I had, that was really my focus for a while. After I tore my ACL, I stopped dancing hula. I stopped dancing Tahitian. I stopped playing basketball. I started gaining a lot of weight, but I kind of tossed it as like, oh, it's me graduating college, going through marriage on my first marriage. I was kind of going through this whole route. And I thought, well, that's normal. That's what people do. Not really thinking that, like I wasn't really taking care of myself
Right. Yeah.
then, and it wasn't till, you step on the scale and you look in the mirror and you realize like you have no stamina. Like I went through a very much like party phase, like I was always the fun girl would party with, but never, I just didn't go back to fitness. I didn't do anything fitnessy, even though my degree was very tied into the body. So it was an interesting time during that time because, once everything sort of changed for me when I went through my divorce and all that, when all that happened, I realized like, oh my gosh, like I have to change something. This is not right. And my father was diagnosed with cancer around the same time. And so I realized that I'm like my dad. Like me and my dad love all the same bad foods.
Yeah.
Like in Hawaii, it's a lot of smoked meat. Like Hawaii people are very much like, I think it's a country thing. Wherever there's country people, they're all kind of the same. They all like country music. They ride trucks. They mud. They're doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, people in Alabama who are, they do the same thing as people in Hawaii. They
That's right.
fish. They hunt. They, like I don't know how many pictures of my friends I have with like boars on their back, and like
Yeah.
it's very similar. So me and my father, we love that kind of like probably not so healthy food.
Yeah. Me too.
And yeah, I mean, and so I realized that I needed to make a big change in what I was doing, because I was going to have a baby, and all these things were happening in my life, and that sort of led me to you know to explore fitness again.
That's cool. Yeah, it's because people look at fitness professionals a lot and just assume, well, you've always been healthy.
Yeah,
You don't like pizza and beer and all
yeah,
these good. You probably just naturally don't like that stuff.
yeah,
But it's not that. A lot of us have had struggles, and that's why we got back to doing this for a lot of people. That hey, we know how hard it is out there. So that's cool that where your clients are coming from. It's just not you weren't born with it. Maybe it's
yeah.
Maybelline. Is that the
No,
commercial?
yeah. Hey, yeah, we were just talking about jingles the other day.
There
That's so
you
funny.
go. Yeah, I
I,
went stuck
I
with me.
no, I'm trying to think. I don't know if I know many people who, and maybe you do. I don't know a lot of people who haven't had some sort of difficulty that led them into fitness.
Yeah.
Whether it was like alcohol abuse, traumatic experiences. It doesn't have to be so, I guess, sad. Like I feel like mine was definitely a slap in the face because I was pregnant, going through divorce at the same time, and my father was diagnosed with cancer. And it was like this huge moment where I had like a wake up call, and like never before, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I need to be the healthiest I can be if I'm going to do this by myself. And, I can't let my children feel scared like I am for my dad. And, so for me, that was my wake up moment. I would say that a lot of the people that I know in fitness have some sort of moment like that, where they are either understanding that they're not coming from a not so healthy place, or something happens in their life that they're
Sure. Yeah, I've seen
slap
it
in the
as well.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about probably the most important that ever happened to you. How did you and Devon meet?
Oh my gosh, this is so funny. So you would be surprised how many people meet on MySpace.
I would be. Yeah.
So me and my husband, we met on MySpace. And I will say that we both probably never thought it was going to be something that serious. We were both coming out of a divorce. We both had young children. We were both, I think, searching for some sort of friendship maybe, and not expecting it this way at all. I think I think we both thought it would be some sort of innocent, like, oh, we'll just chat on MySpace
Yeah.
kind of
Maybe,
thing. I
maybe
can't
I'll make
even.
it into the top 8, into his
Yeah.
top 8 or something. Isn't that what the
I wonder if
basement?
he did. Do you know I actually looked at my MySpace the other day? They still have it up, but it looks so weird.
Yeah. I
It's
went about
totally
a year ago
different
and
looking.
checked out. Here's what was weird. I got an email from Facebook to say, check out your MySpace.
Oh, they probably own them.
They probably do. Yeah. They
They
probably bought it for
probably
like
own them.
$45 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's probably pretty cheap.
For less money than the app,
Oh,
than
yeah.
the
Yeah,
Huntsville
that's
app.
right.
Yeah, we met on MySpace, and it's serendipitous, I have to say, because once I was going through, as many women, I would say, probably, or people in general, when they are going through a breakup, I was definitely going through that point where like, I am single now and I am not tied in, and having this like rebellious moment. So of course I changed my MySpace thing to single, and not knowing that there's people that look for other single women on MySpace. And so once that became single, I started getting messages from guys like, "Hey, good looking, how's it going? And you want to talk?" And all these things. And I just couldn't roll my eyes back anymore. Let me tell you. So, of course, I just delete them. There wasn't like tons, but enough where I was like, okay, this is something that people do. And then one day I get a message from this guy who tells me, "Hey, something very nice." And then he goes on to say, "I see that you like X-Men, the last one, which was X-Men 10. I can't even remember the X." And he says, "That movie was awful." But it's okay. Like, goes on to slightly insult me about my movie selection, where I was like, what? And then says, "Oh, if you want to chat sometime, let me know, blah, blah, blah." And he finishes it. He was the only one I responded to because I couldn't believe that he insulted me. And so I felt like for one, it worked because I got into his trap, right? So I wrote back, I was like, "Well, it was a great movie. You have a very cool Transformers background," because back then you could put backgrounds
Oh yeah,
remember that? And you could have
MySpace.
music. Yes, you could have a wallpaper. And of course, Devon had a Transformers wallpaper.
Of course.
Of course. And I said, "I like your Transformers wallpaper. X-Men, the last one was fantastic. I don't know what you're talking about." And that was it. And we sort of kept in touch here and there. And over the following months, then we started to get to know each other more. And then we met. And then the rest was history. I think it's hilarious though that we can say that, because in the
That is.
beginning we were a little ashamed of it. We're like, we can't tell people we met on MySpace.
It's one
So
of
we
my
used,
favorite stories.
I
I
know
love
it
it.
is,
I
and
love
it
it.
is in the book. I talk about it in
Oh
the book in
yes.
detail. We used to tell people that he walked by my store because I worked in Ala Moana shopping center. It was outdoor. It was a very nice mall. And that he walked by the store and I was in the front. He was like, "Hey, you want to go out?" Like, like he was super, like he was a super cool guy, and, and just like approached me, no problem. I was like, no, he was the guy behind the computer typing like, "Hi."
On
It's quite
MySpace.
the opposite.
So
On
do you,
MySpace.
here's my impression of Tom, by the way. You
Yeah.
remember Tom?
Oh my
You
gosh,
like
it
that,
looks
Tom?
just like him.
Yeah, I've been working on that for a while. But yeah, so you guys are an awesome, and also you guys are an awesome team. But
Yeah.
congratulations on using serendipitous in a sentence. By the way, that was impressive right there.
It's funny. I've been using that word a lot. It's a book I'm reading, and they use serendipitous a lot. I was like, man, I haven't used that in a
You
while.
pulled it off, man. I
Yeah.
couldn't spell it, but you used it good.
I don't know
Uh,
if I could spell it either. That's
it's a big
why I
one.
got into fitness.
Yeah, that's right. I had to write down a paralab earlier
APP.
because then it goes to the lab. It got crazy,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna kind of switching gears right here. Very direct 180 almost. That let's get into kind of positive body image. I know that's something very important that you do, that you especially talk to women about. So
Yes.
let's talk about body image first of all. Let's talk about some things that you have gone through personally, especially
Yes.
through powerlifting and bodybuilding and all that. So let's talk about some body image tips.
Yeah. The book that will be coming out, or that's going to be out by the time this comes out, probably that's the biggest theme on what I wrote about. And over the years, body image has, or my idea of what I feel comfortable with has changed dramatically over the years. And in the beginning, uh, when I didn't feel good about my body, I was, not active. I was eating Taco Bell 3 o'clock in the morning, partying with friends. I was drinking, I was smoking. Like, there was everything that you can think of that's probably not good for your health, not sleeping good, like you name it. And that reflected in how I felt about my body, and how it looked too. I felt like I looked at my body as like, man, it just is there, and I didn't like it. I felt overweight, and I was, but I was more so just not healthy inside, and I felt that more. And so in the beginning, I really thought that, losing weight, and being a certain size was going to make me feel better. And it kind of did. And it, as I had the baby, after I had the baby, I dropped down to much smaller than I had been in a long time. And I felt better about my body, but I did not feel like I thought I would. So the way I viewed my body was like, man, I'm actually kind of like skinny. I have no curves. I have no butt. I have no, I still found faults in the
Mm-hmm.
way that I looked.
Sure.
And I think that that has always been a theme of mine and a lot of women. So we think that like we're going to lose this weight, we're going to get to this certain shape and it's going to make me feel a certain way. And that's usually never the the response. It's never that that outcome is going to totally change how I feel. And I didn't realize that early on. That took me years to figure that out. And so after that, I ended up, like, hey, I'm going to try bodybuilding. So I went into bodybuilding for many years and I loved trying to change my physique, grow muscle. And I found a lot of happiness in fitness and trying to challenge myself in that way. But that I realize now only exasperated all the crazy things I thought about myself. And it's a common theme in people who compete. You find you're not in competing in bodybuilding. It's not about who has the nicest body. I mean, really, you're trying to hide your imperfections.
Hmm.
So everybody's got imperfections.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
how can we make them look less imperfect? So as a person who's competing, I look at my body as like, all right, where's all the imperfections? It's never the, oh, this looks good, that looks good. It's like, no, that looks bad, work on that. That looks bad, work on that.
So you're
That looks
constantly highlighting your weak points, huh?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you don't, I never realized it. It was like just part of the process. Toughen up. That's what you got to do. Not realizing that it slowly chips away at how you feel,
I bet. Yeah.
and how you view your body, how you view food and intake. And, food was just a number for me for a long time. And, everything was like 70 calories, 4 grams of fat, like I didn't look at food the same way, which is completely unhealthy. Um, some people can have good control of it. I know some people can compete for life and feel totally fine with that. I couldn't, and I didn't, and I struggled with that. And so after bodybuilding, I realized that I had to, had to stop. And so my body image was terrible. Like people, I mean, I looked fit and I looked like what I thought other people would think was good. Right? Oh, that's my trainer. She's got abs. She's been on the stage. Look at her bicep. Whatever it was.
Yeah.
That was what I felt was the right image for me. But really, it was based on what other people were thinking. And inside, I was struggling. Towards my last show, I was eating 1,000 calories. I was doing 2 hours of cardio. I had training session almost every day, and my body would not change anymore. And I was desperate because I was going to be on stage and my husband was going to be there. My mother was, I mean, everybody was coming to see me during that time. Um, so I definitely was at a point where I realized, okay, why am I doing this? Like
Yeah.
what is this for? I'm actually paying for this. Like
This
nobody's
is
giving me
miserable.
money. This is miserable. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Devon was like, for a while, like, hey, are we going to have a baby? Like cause we both have one child from our previous marriage. And I always told him like, oh, just wait till I get my pro card in bodybuilding. And then, like in my mind, once I had that, then it was okay, but I got to a point where I didn't enjoy fitness anymore. I didn't enjoy any of that kind of stuff. And I looked at myself so negatively that I just said, forget it. I'm going back to powerlifting and I'm not going to bodybuild. I'll do some fun stuff, but I want to do stuff that is fun. So I
Mm-hmm.
started doing CrossFit football with a bunch of ladies in Missouri, and CrossFit football involved a lot of the big lifts. It was squat, bench, and deadlift. We did have to run occasionally, but I was okay with that. And I started really loving like fitness again, which made me love my body for what it could do. I didn't look at it like I still struggled, like, okay, I'm losing my abs. Okay, I'm losing, this but then I realized, hey, I just deadlifted 275. I haven't deadlifted that in so long. And then it was deadlifted 295. Then it was 300. And I was like, man, this is amazing. And so I really found a joy in my body and how I viewed it once I started looking at how it performed versus how it looked all the
Man, what a
time.
huge switch to make.
It was,
That's
and
huge.
it was so subtle. It's not like one of those days you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm going to look at my body differently. It's never like that. It's like over time, just suddenly I became more comfortable, not caring how tight the leggings were fitting or that my bra was, like too tight in the back or, I don't think it's ever black or white. I think that I have a lot of times where I'm I'll still think about it, but I have much better mindset where I view it and I'm able to take any negative thoughts I have about myself and try to flip it. Um, but yeah, I think that that's a big one for a lot of women because we're always worried about how we look. And we're not necessarily rewarded for how our body performs unless you're in sports. And so I found that powerlifting was a way that I could connect to women who wanted to be better at lifting and see how their body could perform. Um, yeah, so I don't know if that was any tips, but I guess that's more so
No,
my
I think people
my
just want to
story.
know your story, and a lot of them relate to it, maybe not through bodybuilding or something like that, but they relate to not feeling like they're enough. I know that for sure.
Yeah.
And that there's steps you took to figure it out, and that it's not all because there's always going to be imperfections, right? I don't care who you are. The bodybuilders with the supposedly perfect bodies have those imperfections. So it's just you're chasing after something that's impossible. So
Oh
it's great
yeah,
to
for
hear other
sure.
people hear that. So
Yeah, and it's definitely something that's that you always have to work at. I don't think it's ever going to be something where it'll never be there. Some days I'm more critical and some days I'm not.
yeah. So you got into powerlifting, and that led you to starting even your own podcast about power. Let's talk
I
about that. So
know.
it's The Future is Female Powerlifting is the name of your podcast, and it's done really
Yes.
well. You've been doing it almost coming up on 3 years. And tell me a little bit about how that started.
Yeah, so I loved podcasts. I would listen to them every morning and there's a bunch of powerlifting ones I would listen to, some fitness ones, some, business. And they'd always, talk to like big name powerlifters and not much women. And there are actually a lot of women who powerlift now. And every time they'd interview a woman, I felt like they were missing questions, like things that I wanted to know as a woman, like
Yeah.
how did it suck after you gave birth? Did you work out right away? How is it when you have your periods? Do all these questions that I think might have just been uncomfortable, for sometimes men to ask, or maybe they didn't even think of. And I felt like, hey, I want to hear these things. I'm sure there's other women that want to hear these things too. And obviously I like to talk. You and I are probably big talkers.
You're really good at it, by the way. Yeah.
Am I? I don't know if that's a good compliment.
You are. Yeah.
That hence why I'm probably dry in my throat more because I'm talking too much. Um, but I felt like I just wanted to try it. So I was very scared to try it. Like I was like, that's really putting myself out there,
Yeah.
like, once you do this and you're trying to say like you're kind of the expert. I'm not saying I'm the expert, so I actually messed up on my very first episode and I told Devon, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to, this is like so stupid. I can't believe I screwed up my first episode. How could I do that? So embarrassing. I had so much shame and all these, sort of negative self-talks to try to bring me back down to not try something that's going to put myself out there. He's like, you're being ridiculous. It's your friend. Don't even worry about it. I'm sure she'll do it again with you. And she did. And I felt good. And good thing we continued on because since starting it, there's been a lot of women who have loved hearing the interviews because mostly the show's backbone is really about interviewing women who compete in powerlifting. I'd like to have them have some sort of a story,
Mm-hmm.
some sort of experience in their life that is something that women can relate to or find inspiration through. And it's really kind of sharing their story and how they came to be where they are now and how maybe powerlifting had a help in that. And it's also educational. So I'll interview some coaches who are men too, that can talk a little bit more about how women can work on powerlifting. What are some things they notice, and just in general, more beginner, I would say beginner to intermediate
Mm-hmm.
powerlifters, like things they want to know. But yeah, it's been about almost 3 years now and it's been wonderful. It's been a blessing. I've been able to meet so many people through the podcast that I never would have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
That's my favorite thing, just hanging out with cool people, getting a chance to talk to them. So I like how you focus on their struggles and their triumphs, not just, hey, here's how to squat. And I mean, that stuff's cool too, but I think people really connect also with that. Hey, I'm a champion powerlifter, but I wasn't born this way.
Yeah.
It's taken this and I've overcome that. So I know you focus on a lot of that. So you talked about you've been able to meet some cool people. How did that lead to you being a part of this book coming up? So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So once again, like, I've taken a lot of risks putting myself out there. which is a scary thing.
Hmm.
And I'm kind of now at a point where like, I say yes to everything now. I'm like, man, it's done me good, and there has been many times where things just fell through and didn't work out. And, but for the most part, it's done great. For example, me being a part of this book, um, Larnie Mulready, who is the author on the book that I'm part of, she listens to the show, and so she herself connected with one of many of our people that my guests, but she connected with a lot of the women who've had to, you know, have maybe not been told that they are somebody who could be stronger or somebody who can pursue their own endeavors. I think Larnie has always felt like maybe held back a little bit in her life. And she connected with the women on the show. And she said that, I just listened to it and I realized that I could do it too. Like there are things that I want to do in my life that I've not allowed myself to do for whatever insecure reasons or whatever things that have, excuses that I've told myself. And I believe that she lost her job. She didn't quit. She lost her job. And that was sort of the tipping point for her to kind of invest in herself and go into this business of being a, speaker, kind of being a person who wants to empower other women. So this book was part of her way of telling her story, and as a Filipino American who, has a family who was a wonderful family, but also probably wanted her to pursue a certain way, a certain career and a certain life. And so this is her like trying to just do it on her own and her inspirational story behind that. And a lot of the people in the book also have their own struggles and things that they've went through. And it's really just inspirational stories of other women who have gone through some struggles and have triumphed from that. So she listened to the show. And then, so of course she's like, hey, I would love for you to be in the book. And I was like, me? Like, it was so funny. And um, just to have that opportunity, I would have never had that, had I never done the podcast. And I took that opportunity. Everything in me was kind of like, no, I'm not an author.
Right. Yeah.
What story do I have to say? Like, I mean, there are many people who've struggled a lot more than me, but I realized that, my struggles are a lot like other people's, and it might not be catastrophic, but it is definitely something that has led me to um, be where I'm at today. And that, those struggles have been very important in my life. And I would never change any of the things I went through because I love where I am at now. And I love the lessons I've learned from all that suffering. And it's created a much more, I don't know, it's created a life that I love.
Sure.
So yeah, so that's how I got really started with her. And I'm so nervous. Let me tell you, I'm freaking nervous for the book to come out and people to read it. And I just, I guess I've never really told my whole story before. So this is it.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to read it. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
It's called Standing in Strength: Inspirational Stories of Power Unleashed, which is an awesome title, by the
It
way.
is.
So yeah, that hooked me right away. So
Yeah.
I pre-ordered. So by the time this comes out, I may have already read it. So I don't know. Does it have big words in it? Pictures? Anything like that?
No, I'm writing in there. So
It may be serendipitous. May have made it in there. So I can be careful.
I hope I use that word in there.
Well, that's exciting though. So this is people from around the world are in this book, right?
Yes. So we have Annie Gibbons. Annie is in Australia, of course. Larnie, Dawn Bates she also published the book. She's written tons of books herself, mostly fictional books, but they are based off of stories of people that she meets. It's kind of amazing. So she's a traveler. She meets a lot of people and she sort of crafts these books around stories that she's been told. So yeah, there's a bunch of women throughout the world. And I don't know if you know who Courtney Olson is. She's the girl that squashes watermelons with her
Oh,
legs.
I do know her then. I forgot her name. But
That's right. She's the owner of GRRL brand. It's a brand. They sell mostly clothing, but they're also sort of a women's movement brand that's tied into fitness. She wrote the foreword in it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful foreword. And yeah, she's a tough woman. But every time I say, "Hey, do you know who the woman is who squashes the watermelons?" They're like, "Oh yeah, of course." I'm like, "Yeah,
Now I know
she's
her
in the
name.
book."
Yeah, I should probably know her name. So that's good.
Yeah, Courtney with a K. But yeah, the book. will be coming out on hard copy on the 13th. So by the time this is out,
Oh,
you'll be
very
able to
cool.
purchase it. Yeah. So it's on Amazon. If you type in the title, and I can give you the link for that,
Yeah, but
it'll be,
I'll link all that in show notes so they can go click right on there and go right and get their
yeah,
copy.
I'm excited. I mean, the stories are, I mean, like crying, like just emotional stuff in there, just real heavy experiences that, make me very grateful and appreciative of my life. I tell you.
Sure. I mean, you don't appreciate the good times unless you've had some bad times, right?
I agree. I
So,
agree.
yeah. So kind of talking about that, what's been one of your biggest failures and how did you learn from it?
Um, wow. I mean, I would say that more recently, starting a gym is always hard. Starting a business is always hard. And there was a lot of things I didn't know, finances. I even took a finance class so I could learn how to accounting class, so I could learn how to like be a better accountant. Just definitely not my thing. It's over there with like chemistry,
No, me too.
chemistry.
That's me too.
Yeah. So, we struggled, my husband and I, when we had saved a lot of money in order to open up the gym, and we went through tons of personal things with our houses where we had to pay off a lot of stuff, and we ended up draining almost all our savings in order to move here and have the gym. So we charged everything because we didn't have the income that we had prior, and that was a learning lesson because money was not rolling in the way it should have. And I was working, and then he was working in the gym, and so I think after all of this, I realized that I needed to put more into the business. So I quit my job, and then I did, we work in the gym full time. And once I did that, everything got better. And so I really put in more into the gym, more I worked in the business, as we say, not with the business, or,
Right. Yeah.
I did a lot more of that. Not on the business, whatever the term is. I think the biggest lesson I learned from that is to be better with your money. Like, I think I thought I knew, but I didn't know enough. So now, when it comes to finances, I reach out and I hire people. So
Me
I
too.
have, I have an
Me too.
accountant who is just for gyms. He does all my taxes. Their accounting company is just all gyms. I reached out to somebody to help me bring down the debt, and we set a plan together so that now by the end of this year, we'll be pretty much debt free.
Awesome.
Yeah. And it's things like I did, simple things that I probably knew, but I didn't know how to implement. And I think one of the biggest lessons I learned from that is even I need somebody to coach me. We need somebody to coach me. Like, and I'm sure you hear this all the time. It's in fitness, it's not about what you know. Everybody knows how to eat healthy or
Right.
knows what is probably a healthy food, but implementing it can be so hard. And for me, I was sort of like stopped. Like, what do I do? There's just so much information. I don't know what to filter out. I don't know where to start. What's the best step? So I think that my biggest lesson was not try to do everything yourself, because had I done that, year one, it would have been a totally, totally different experience. We would have had such a better financial backing from the beginning. So for me now, I hire out. I mean, that's a learning experience for almost everything. Like, I can do certain things like house stuff, but now it's like, I can take care of the lawn myself. I can put all that stuff on there, like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I did that. It's still like weeds everywhere, like, what am I doing wrong? I am not a professional. So
Yeah.
I definitely have learned that if I want something to be done faster and probably much better, I reach out to people now. And that to me was the biggest point in my life where I was like, okay, this is huge. I didn't even really do anything different. Like, all I did was, she just told me, hey, take X amount of money from this one and put it in this account, and X amount of money. And I was like, I'm not even like trying to like make more money. It's
Yeah.
just taking the money I already have, And so I think that's a big lesson for me, is reach out to people who are experts in their area
Sure.
before.
Well, I'm sure you see it with your clients too. You don't have to make these huge tweaks to, you're like, maybe just change their foot on the squat and they're like, oh my gosh, look at that.
Yeah.
Like, why
Yeah.
couldn't I figure that out? Well,
Yeah.
this is all I do, right?
Yeah.
This
Right.
is all I know.
You would think I'd come to that conclusion sooner, but I think, small business owners, we try to do it all,
Yeah.
you
Oh man, I
know?
mean, my first year paying taxes, I was like, goodness,
Yes.
that check. I was like, did I make this much this year?
Yeah.
What in the world? I don't even remember making this much. How am I paying more than I make? What's going
Yeah.
on? Yeah.
What's going on?
I
Yeah.
immediately went out and say, hey, please do this for me. I don't know
Yeah.
what's happening.
Oh, my
Please.
tax guys are amazing. They're like, "Hey, so this and this and this." I mean, things I wasn't even like writing off. They're like, you can write off this and this and this. I was like, I didn't know that. They're
No.
like, yes.
I'd heard my whole life about write-offs. I didn't know what that was or how you do it or any of that.
I was like, I knew the basics, but then there were things that in the fitness business that you could write off that I was like, I don't know if I could do that. I feel like that's like kind of like I'm trying to, and Devon, he's like so honest, right? He's like, no, I don't think that's right. I feel like we're going to be robbing the country. He's like, babe, it's okay. They're the tax experts. Like,
Yeah,
you
he's
can do
he's the
this.
expert. Let him handle it.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
totally.
love now just, hey, you handle it and I'll write you a check whenever you want one because I
Yeah,
don't want to deal with it. So
yeah,
and it saves me more money in the long run. So I'm with you on that. So
yep,
maybe kind
totally.
of on the same path. What makes you mad? I know you're not a very angry person, but what's something that makes you mad?
Uh, um, I would have to say probably, I'm very big on respect.
Hmm.
And I think over the years, I've learned to not be so. I think as growing up, I was always that kid that, like, what like, don't, like, you're almost like you're offending me kind of thing, where I used to be like that as a kid. I've learned to cool that so much over the years. I think it's just being, with experience. But I think when I see other people not treated right, or being disrespected or spoke to in a way that they don't need to be, like, that's probably one of the few things that gets me instantly mad. Or you speak to my family members or some way. Yeah, and that's where my Puerto Rican side comes out. And I always joke about it. I'm like, I'm Japanese up until you do something like that. And then I get very angry. Yeah, I don't, I'm very big on people being treated right. You and I think believe
That's a
that,
big one for
and
me as well. Yeah.
yeah, I don't, it doesn't matter where they come from, it doesn't matter who they are, there should be a sense of respect that is given to each other, unless you're a total jerk. But of course,
Yeah. So you
that's
you
probably,
you have your hands in a lot of things. You're super busy, a lot going on between a parent, an entrepreneur, and all the podcasts, all this stuff. So what keeps you inspired? What keeps you going every day?
oh, other women doing big things,
That's
men
awesome.
and women. But like, I recently watched Harriet Tubman on Netflix. I don't know if you saw that.
I've seen the previews. I haven't watched it yet.
Oh man, it was powerful.
Yeah.
And after the end of it, it's like, Harriet Tubman's story,
Hmm.
but to see it, I guess, in full, screen mode for 2 hours, I realized, man, if somebody like Harriet Tubman could do what she did, like, I can help other women. I can put myself out there. I can do these things. I'm constantly inspired by women in the past, women in history who have done amazing things. And it's usually through some sort of, hardship. Like Harriet Tubman, they said that she might have had like a brain injury, and that was part of these like visions she would have from God, but they weren't sure, if they were visions or because of the head injury. And either way, it empowered her to do what she did. And women like Frida Kahlo, and women who have gone through tremendous pain and injury and still go on to inspire and do things that are amazing. Those are the women that like really keep me pushing.
Yeah. I see some people. I'm like, man, I'm soft. God, I'm soft.
Right. I do think that. I'm like,
Oh man, some the things people overcome. Like I got to get up early in the morning. I'm like, oh,
right. Yeah.
and that's
No,
it.
like, oh,
That's the only hard thing I
I got
do.
a headache. I got to take an ibuprofen, where they're like, they have one leg,
Yeah.
or something like that. I had a friend that was from Mexico, and he lost a leg. I mean, such hardship. His family left him when he was a child because he was so poor. They couldn't feed all of them. He lost his leg because the train ran over it, of all
Oh man.
things. Like, this is how crazy it is. And he ended up being like a manager at a movie theater, which a lot of kids who were born in the street like that don't do in Mexico, because once they kind of have that life, it's very hard for them to get out of it. And that's inspirational for me. Like,
Yeah.
somebody who went through a drug abuse problem, and here he was, with one leg, not even not even whining about anything. In fact, he ended up playing music that night and like singing to everybody. And I was like, man, I am I'm too soft.
Yeah,
You know, like,
that's me,
that is
man.
inspirational, man.
That's it. So I know you and Devon are always, you're real big on continuing education. So what's something
Yes.
you're curious about now? What do you want to learn more about right now?
Oh, I'm really into breathing right now. And I think I have been for the last maybe 2 years. We've done Wim Hof's breathing course. Right now, I've been doing reflexive performance reset. It's also known as RPR. And it's pretty much just a bunch of rubbing on your body and breathing that helps you perform better, feel better. And there's a lot more science to it. But for the basics, for everybody, I just tell people, hey, I just want you to try this sort of rubbing and this diaphragmatic breathing. So I would say that, yeah, breathing right now is really something that has changed me so much, has helped me to relax, has helped me realize a lot of where my back pain and hip pain comes from. I realized that I was not breathing properly. And as woo as that sounds, because meatheads like us, we're like, just lift more weights and be stronger. And, and nobody wants to talk about breathing unless you're bracing, like, unless it's a
Yeah.
brace, we don't need to worry about breathing. Not realizing how important just the breathing was that would transfer over to my lifts. And so since I've fixed a lot of my breathing patterns, um, my squat, everything's gone up. Like my squat went up 20 pounds, my bench went up 10 pounds, my deadlift has gone up so much because I was battling with a lot of back and hip pain that was tied into my breathing. So right now I'm really exploring different methods of breathing, why it affects us so much. And there's so much to learn and so much that it's not like out there, like there's
Yeah.
just not a lot of info on it.
It's so crazy that something you do every day, all day,
Yeah.
you can get better at, and it could be making you worse or better. So I'm very interested in breathing as well. So which
Yeah.
sounds to some people would be like, bro, you do that,
Boring.
bro, you do that all
Bro,
day.
bro, bro.
Bro, you do it all day. You're all right.
I forgot how many respirations it is a day. Is it 5,000? There's something about it's like an enormous amount. And most people don't do it right.
Yeah.
It's so crazy
I'm
to
one of
think.
them. I'm working on it. So it's something I'm constantly working on as well.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about that as well.
Yeah.
So how about this? What's your nickname? Or do you have a nickname? Almost most people have one.
I don't know. I used to DJ. And so
Oh,
once people find that out, my DJ name was Madam H. I don't know if you remember, like in the mid 90s, there was Heidi Fleiss.
I do remember her. Yeah.
She was Madam Heidi. I even had a Heidi Fleiss shirt. And so after that, I that's slowly, I would say a couple of years after that whole, Heidi Fleiss incident, it was, I started DJing. So I was like, just go by Madam H or Madam Heidi, that was my DJ name. So jokingly, people will tell me that. But my brothers call me Tita, which is a word we use in Hawaii a lot. So like, it's like, it could be used for sister. It can also be used for like tomboy. It's a Hawaiian word, but now it's sort of morphed into this other term. But Tita is like probably the only name. I don't really have a lot of nicknames. I don't know. I guess
Well,
I
that was
probably
worth
should.
it to hear about Madam H anyway.
Madam H, let me say. And I was rocking the turntables. I always wonder if I still can do it.
Oh,
Like
just
go back on.
just do that real quick, and I'll put you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, see, I had there's.
Yeah, there you go, man. I'm obviously not a DJ, man. My stuff fell all the way off my head, behind me. I got to work on it. So, do you have anything else into closing? You have anything else you want to close with right here?
No, I think that if there is anybody listening to this, I hope that they, can look into themselves and know that there's a lot of possibility and things that can happen, and that a lot of us go through a lot of different things in life. And, it may seem, I mean, when I was going through my hardest times, I don't think there was anything in the world that I thought would be harder,
Sure.
and now that I've came out of that, life is amazing. I've learned a lot from that. But yeah, if anybody wants to hear about some amazing stories, get the book. It's going to be, I'm so proud to be a part of it. I'm so happy to be in line with these women who are making a huge impact. Like I am the least out of all these women. I mean, Annie has a nonprofit for women in Australia. And I'm like, man, I need to step up. These are the women who are doing some amazing things, helping other people,
Right,
and yeah, get the book.
Standing in Strength. It's on Amazon. I'm going to link it in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for explorehuntsville.com/Joe for telling us where to go and when we want to do cool stuff. Apparel Lab, if you need to get a Heidi Fleiss shirt, they could probably make you a Heidi Fleiss shirt.
Oh my gosh. Listen, it was a great sweater. My buddy Sean gave it to me. I still remember it.
We need to recreate that with a parallel. But I'm excited to read the book, man. I can't. I'm gonna read your chapter first and then get to the rest of it.
Oh,
But I'm
thanks,
really
Joe. You're
excited,
sweet.
and that's a cool thing that you're gonna be a part of, and I'm glad you're in it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Joe.
All right, y'all go get the book, and I'll talk to you guys later.